Dipshit. Nice name. You got a car?
Yes, sir.
Yes, officer! Where is it?
Over there.
Nice. Maybe I impounded the wrong one.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Lately, and what will probably be for quite a while, as in forever, I've been going back to playing older games again, where I'm either revisiting ones that I've never touched, or ones that I haven't played since I was a kid. There's only so much I can remember back then and how I felt towards the games I played. Take LA Rush for example. Loved it as a kid, but now I'm not sure how I feel about it right now as an adult since I haven't played it as an adult, hence why I'm playing it now. I've played good games and bad games all alike, but in my adult years, I've also grown a deeper appreciation for gaming as a whole, and seeing both sides of the good and the bad has been an eye-opening experience for sure. Well, we're about to dive into one of the most infamous ports ever made, a game that carries the same title as one of the most beloved racing games of all time, Need for Speed Most Wanted, but on the DS. We all know it, how it plays and how it looks, and other channels have already poked holes into the DS port, both into the game itself as well as the development history of it. My earliest history of this port of Most Wanted was back when I was a kid, going over to my friend's house, just around the time when the DS was fairly new. And I don't mean the newer models that came after the original model, but I mean the original model right here. The very first game I remember playing on it was, in fact, Need for Speed Most Wanted. I was excited to play it at the time because I was already in love with the game playing it on the PS2. And that was the last time I ever played this version because I hated it. And playing it again for the first time in ages, I was going in knowing that it was a bad game already. Knowing that it was a bad game even for DS racing standards. And here's the thing, the DS itself actually has some pretty good racing games on there. You had Asphalt Urban GT, Race Driver Grid, Trackmania, the other Need for Speed ports, Mario Kart DS obviously, Sonic All-Stars Racing, Ridge Racer, and that's just to name a few. And while it wasn't the ideal device for racing games, what was made was still enjoyable, and I'm kind of a sucker for DS graphics honestly. Nevertheless, I decided to play through the DS version of Most Wanted and, completed the whole game, plus every race and event involved in it. And, well, it's an irredeemable package that only has a few small, and I mean very small credits that you can throw towards it. Like the GBA and the PSP version, the story is non-existent, and you're just racing through the blacklist just to become the most wanted racer, and that's it. You have circuit, sprint, lap knockout, no drag racing, thank God, time trials, and a shitty mode called Barricade where you have to dodge police roadblocks and get to the finish line without hitting a police car, otherwise it results in a fail, and you have to try again. To progress, you need to earn respect. Earn enough of it and you'll get a chance to race the blacklist boss of the current chapter. It doesn't change or deviate in any way other than the volume of content for each chapter, the difficulty of the races, as well as the cars that you'll be racing. It's not like in Most Wanted where you have the races and the milestones. In this one, you just have the race events and that's it. On the one hand, you don't have to worry about the milestones that start to become tiring from Blacklist 5 to 1, but on the other hand, you're just cycling through the same repetition over and over again with, the same events and the same races, and some of the track designs here in general are just abysmal, especially this one, a track that is too long, overly complicated, boring, and annoying all at once. And to top it off, you have collisions that make Undercover look like a masterpiece by comparison because every car and placement of traffic, including cops, are literally walls in disguise, and you'll often bounce back from them while they don't move a single muscle. And sometimes if you hit an opponent while they're ahead of you, you'll actually launch them forward, rather than, stop them to an extent. During the races, you'll have cops that will just sort of hang around the corner, and then when you get past them, the sirens will activate and then they'll start chasing you. Now, sometimes you can evade them if you're fast enough, but there are other times where the rubber banding kicks in and they'll just try to get ahead of you to either try and block you, or they'll get ahead of you and then deploy a spike strip. And if you run over the spike strip, you have this touchscreen prompt to, well, you know, escape. But if you're playing on an emulator, then you can bypass this entirely and just press one of the buttons. So yeah, it's just another way of, you know, the game interacting with the touchscreen controls of the DS. But, you know, in comparison to the main game, this busted system so far has been more forgiving because you can, you know, escape and then have all your wheels back. So there's that at least. Either way, it's still a pretty shit pursuit system, and it makes 510's pursuit system look a lot more enjoyable by comparison, and that's not saying much either. And with the collisions, you can't deviate the traffic from their path either. So if you hit a traffic car directly in front of them while they're going the other way, they will just keep going while you'll get pushed back. And in some races, this is something that you can't afford. In fact, you just can't afford to hit anything, period, because, you know, you suffer some serious slowdowns, especially if you're trying to do some intense time trial races where you don't have much time to begin with. And those problems just lead to an even bigger problem, which is the handling itself, which I'll get into a bit later. But anyway, moving on for now. When you do manage to complete a race with the heat level maxed out, you actually get a chance to double down your rewards, which results in you doing basically an outrun race with a cop car. Now, if you get ahead and get well past him, you actually earn double the points that, you know, you would have earned, you know, without doing the event. But if you do lose, then you lose it all and you have to start the whole event again. So there are some tracks where it may not be worth doing it all in the first place, and some tracks where, you know, you may be able to get away with it and then get double the points, which will help later on with upgrading for performance parts and visual parts, as well as, you know, buying a whole new car. So keep it in mind. Anyways, those points that you earn, which are upgrade points, you will use that for visuals and performance parts and buying other cars if you know, unlock more throughout the campaign. And the thing with the visuals is, I mean, let's face it, they look like shit no matter what you do to the car anyways. I mean, I didn't even bother attaching a body kit in the game whatsoever. Here's what it looks like if you care enough. It's nothing special. Anyways, the performance parts are really the only parts that matter because they're going to be the very thing that will get your car ahead. And once you get enough, you know, upgrades for a vehicle, it will then carry you throughout the rest of the races, including the Blacklist race. And once I had the Gallardo later on, I didn't really need any other car until towards the end where I considered, oh, maybe I should get the Carrera or something. But then once I maxed out the Gallardo, it's, you know, it didn't really matter because everything was already maxed out. So yeah, if you have points, save them for the fastest cars and just save those points for performance parts. The visuals don't really matter that much in this game because they just look terrible anyhow. However, one small credit I can give towards the visual customization in this game is the fact that you can create your own decal. And this was another way of allowing the player to utilize the stylus pen. And if you care to be creative in a game like this, then yeah, go at it. Make some top quality art for your shitty low poly car, I guess. Now, the thing with the gameplay and the handling of Most Wanted is that it's both easy and hard at the same time. The events in general aren't really that challenging, but the handling and the turning of the car is where you'll have the most trouble. Turning is so sensitive that you can risk doing a complete slide against a wall or, worst, against another car. The opponent's handling is pretty much perfect when they're not hitting traffic, and if their rubber banding kicks in, you're screwed. Now, one could get used to the controls eventually, and one could get the bright idea to speedrun the game. I only found one speedrun of the game where it was 100%ed on speedrun.com. I don't know if any other website holds any speedruns for this game, but it wouldn't surprise me if no one's even bothered with this port. So yeah, take that as you will. But one could also get used to smelling shit given enough exposure, and that's what this game consists of. An exercise in how much shit can you take before you give up. Well, I managed to complete every event and beat every Blacklist driver and got the BMW, which, by the way, you still had to purchase upgrades for even after you get it for free. Speaking of which, you don't get given the cars, you just unlock them with the option to purchase throughout your career as well as an upgrade. So you don't even get an opportunity to try and win a pink slip from the Blacklist racer after you beat them. But if you manage to do all the races, you will generally have enough to get the car that you want, you know, by the end of the game anyhow. And once you have the BMW, you're not going to need any other car, period. So I started off with the Cobalt, then the Eclipse, the Subaru, and finally the Lamborghini, and that car was more than enough for me to get to the end. The credits was the best part about the game, no doubt, because it was a sign that my torturous grind was over. And so you might ask, why did I even do this, knowing that the game was bad as it was? Why pick this game out of the litter? Well, primarily it was out of a masochistic sense of curiosity to see how I go about playing a game so bad that you can enjoy it in an ironic way. And this mentality for me also led to the idea of how people can possibly enjoy bad games. And that's the thing, there are a lot of bad games out there, and a lot of people will go out of their way to create paragraphs of comments or videos telling and showing in one way or another that the game is bad and why it's bad and why you shouldn't play it and all that sort of jazz. But what doesn't always get talked about is the possibility of enjoying a bad game. And the thing is, all bad games, like all good games, and even the worst ones like this one, have the capacity to yield a sense of enjoyment in one way or another. You can enjoy the so bad it's so good music, the awful driving and the collisions, the ridiculousness of the rubber banding, in a sense where you can point and laugh at how bad it is, and even down to the visuals themselves where it looks bad even for a DS racing game. You don't have to throw a tantrum every time you realize something in the game is bad, and it is possible to even enjoy those things in an ironic sense. Some people unironically enjoy games like Big Rigs because of how much of a beautiful mess it is. People shit on others for hating something that they like, and sometimes the behavior is even worse when people find out that you enjoyed something that you weren't supposed to like. And did I enjoy my experience with Most Wanted on the DS? Yes and no. I had laughs at the game and how bad it is, I had frustrations with how bad it is, and I was just also in disbelief to how we went from a decent DS port of Underground 2 to something like this all of a sudden. And yet, I still enjoyed my experience nevertheless, and it gave me a bigger appreciation for pretty much every other DS racing game that I'll get to enjoy playing soon. Like for example, I played some of Asphalt Urban GT when I was playing through Most Wanted DS, and I could immediately feel the difference in quality, something that this game lacks. I may have had my issues with Undercover, and I still think it's one of the worst Need for Speed games in the series, but at least that game has things going for it, stuff that makes it worth playing still, where you could possibly end up enjoying it. But Most Wanted on the DS is worth playing for entirely different reasons. With Undercover, there's the off chance that you'll actually like the game, and people over the years have spoken up about their experience, and some have even said that it was their personal favorite. But with Most Wanted DS, it's more out of curiosity to really see how bad it is, because for me, just hearing someone say it and show it sometimes just isn't enough. And I wanted to see and feel the bad that this game has. And who knows, maybe I'll boot up Big Rigs Over the Road Racing and get in all the fun. Or perhaps play the GBA and Java version of Most Wanted. So yeah, Most Wanted DS is a prime example of how not to make a racing game, how not to make a DS racing game, and just also how not to make a game in general. But it's also an example of how one can see the funny side of all the bad things surrounding it, that can lead to an ironic sense of enjoyment. And I don't mean in the masochistic sense either, but I mean in the sense where you can still laugh and have a good time despite how bad it all is. All games, no matter how good or bad, can yield enjoyment and fun. It just boils down to what the individual person feels and experiences in the moment. So yeah, go ahead, give it a try. You're looking at the bottom of the barrel here, and the best part about all this is that the only direction left is up. Thanks for watching.